everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Bobble Pod. We've been on a bit of a journey with the first two episodes. So for those that are following on, episode 1 was all about where I've been as Mr. Bobble. Episode 2 is about where we're going. So a bit of a different contrast. I think episode 1 was more of a emotional, kind of like seriously into it, but to give real transparency of, you know, a business owner's life. And when I said I'm going to give you all access levels, that's what I mean to the podcast. Obviously episode 2, if you listen to it, we'd welcome your feedback. You know, it's all about, you know, where we're going, all about positivity. You know, they say the night is darkest just before the dawn. It's a quote I love from Batman. You know, and you know, the idea of the first 2 podcasts was to show that, like, even though it's dark, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And we're going to mix it up because even though I've been disappeared for around about 8 months, I say disappeared, it sounds like I've been kidnapped. The reality is what has actually been going on in the world of digital marketing. I think it's good that we've shared, you know, what's been going on from a personal, Mr. Bobble business perspective, where we're going. And I think that's great to provide a bit of context and foundation. But now let's get into the value of what you really get from the podcast, which is, you know, I'm calling this Mr. Bobble's digital recap because I haven't really been providing any updates in terms of what's been going on in the industry across different platforms for a while. So apologies, but this episode is for that. So before I begin, as always, if you're listening, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. If you're on YouTube and watching, press the bell notification so you get notifications. I enjoy watching and listening to podcasts. And as always, and what's new is if you're not following the Mr. Bobble official social platforms on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, it's Mr._Bobble on Twitter, previously Twitter, now X. And it's Manpreet brackets Mr. Bobble Singh now on LinkedIn. We've had an upgrade to our name. What do you think of the name, James?
I love it.
I like it, yeah. It's quite funny now when someone searches my name, it just says Manpreet brackets Mr. Bob Singh. A bit like Dwayne The Rock Johnson. That's the kind of look I'm going from. Maybe we should have some intro music like wrestling.
I love the fact that your references so far in this episode have been Batman and The Rock.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's where culturally, that's where we are.
That's where we're at. So Batman and The Rock, let's see what else we can bring in. So, yeah. So as always, same format. James going to lead and we'll take it from there. But this episode is all about my digital recap. So let's get straight into it.
Yeah. So what I just want to say as well is that obviously, you know, I was sat here for particularly the first episode when we recorded that. When I listened back to that, it was kind of a different experience listening back to it than it was being part of it and recording it, because I think there was a lot in there, and there was, you know, there were levels. We went on a bit of a journey in that 100%. Episode. So if there's anyone that hasn't gone back and listened to that one, then please do. The episode before that in the feed will take us all the way back to back end of last year.
Yeah, beginning of January, December. Yeah.
Digital predictions for 2024, and I guess what we're doing is updating that, reflecting on that a little bit in the episode today.
Yeah. I think so. A bit of it is to look at, you know, those original predictions, because that was the last episode before we came back. So I left you with my predictions and then vanished like Houdini. And just to come back to kind of prove my predictions were right, a bit like Darren Brown kind of situation. So I had a few, but a lot of it revolved around, you know, like interactive marketing, AI, you know, social becoming the new search, etc. A lot of those, I think all of them are coming through to fruition in terms of my predictions. But sometimes with digital marketing trends, the writing's on the wall. So although we predict it, it's more like we can see, you know, we can see the horizon before most of the people because we're in the field. I'm in the sector constantly. Yeah. So it becomes a lot more easier. And you kind of, if you're not already doing it within your agency or testing it, it's a lot more difficult. But there has been a lot going on in the last 8 months across, you know, search, SEO, PPC, paid social, analytics, strategy, everything within this field that, you know, has changed quite a bit.
Is that where you've really been for the last 8 months? You've been manipulating the marketing world to make sure that your predictions come true?
Maybe. I guess I'll do a Channel 4 special and then present these were my predictions. A bit like Darren Brown did with his lottery numbers. But In a way, yeah, we have been focusing on it. You can't just come out with trends and predictions without actually following through on it and seeing if they're going to, actually deliver. But I've got a little bit of a rundown by channel in terms of what's been going on.
Okay, yeah, that's a good starting point.
So, quick overview just by individual channel. So with SEO, there's been a lot of things that have been introduced. More recently, the AI overviews on the horizon, which came to UK searches on August 15th.
Right.
So we're recording obviously in September. This happened pretty much last month. Google also rolled out another core algorithm update on August 15, which was 5 months from the previous one, which was March. So there was a big update in March. I have some notes here, which that update was actually independently reviewed by most agencies as like, was it really relevant? But it really benefited a lot of like publishers like Reddit and stuff like that in terms of their influence within the algorithm and within the SERPs. The update that's out in August is in line with the AI overviews that have come in and AI and Gemini within search for Google. So core update on the 15th. We've got Joel coming on to explain once we have more information about their core update. The thing with Google is they don't just say, here's everything that's happening with the update. They launch the update and say, here's a document, read at your own pleasure. That's how they kind of do things. But another thing interesting about Google is the market's been slow, but their revenue has been up 14% from last year. So Google is hitting $48.5 billion per year globally. That's a 40% increase year on year. So although economically in the UK it's been a challenging market, people are turning to Google because companies, I won't say are desperate, but need answers. And it comes back to that old adage is when you're in a recession-style economy, which is what we've had and we've just come out of it, is the companies that invest into their marketing come out stronger.
Yeah.
You might not get the same results during that period and your cost per lead might be high and your conversion rate cost might be high and your spend might be higher, but over time it balances out because if you've invested and your costs have gone up, it'll come down on the longer term average because you're collecting all those customers that can buy at that time that might be available to afford to buy, whether it's B2B or B2C during that period. So that was quite interesting, the figures that came out from Google in terms of how much they made, and apparently they still don't have a monopoly, but they make $48.5 billion a year. Someone explain that one to me. On the Google ad side of things, Google obviously introduced the conversational AI Gemini to simplify what we call ad creation. Yep. So that's combining a lot of things across, boosting campaign performance, ad optimizations, combining different types of ad formats. Within that, there's been updates to responsive search ads, which include now the AI optimization for asset display, so you can show headlines to improve performance. Campaign level asset managements have all been simplified. A lot of updates there, and Google enhanced its user consent policy in the EU in particular. Now, UK is not part of the European Union anymore, but generally what happens in the EU you tend to see roll out in the UK. So the consent mode in Google Ads is going to help, advertisers manage user consent a bit more effectively in terms of regulations around GDPR. On LinkedIn, for example, the new click to message ads style ad has come out. So that's a click to message ads. This style of ad isn't really a new concept. They're very popular on Facebook and Instagram because you can do the same thing in terms of messenger ads on Meta, but they are new to LinkedIn. So if you didn't know that you can do that, because InMail got really downgraded on LinkedIn a while back. So this is like a new ad feature now. So you can drive people from ad to having a conversation because now all pages have an inbox. So if you haven't checked on your LinkedIn, all pages now have an inbox. So you want to check that, check messages coming in, because it becomes another influential tool. So if you can actually now run ads to say, chat with one of the teams, so make sure if you have a big enough marketing team, someone's monitoring that inbox all the time.
Yeah.
Meta is getting a lot more transparent. So as part of its ongoing efforts to improve transparency and trust, I'm laughing at that one because Meta and transparency and trust, I think, is very ironic. We'll save that conversation for another day. It's updated its ad transparency tools, which basically includes more detailed insights into ad performance and spending, significant update in competitor analysis, which is really good because it's good to know, and a lot of people don't know about this feature, which is the ads library within Facebook. So if you type in Facebook ads library and you type in a brand or type in their Facebook page, I'll put in their URL Facebook page, it'll show you the recent ads they've been running, paid ads, headline descriptions, and what they've been running. So if you really want to know what your competitors are doing online, it's a free tool. Use it. Yeah. But the fact that they're going to give more updates on the competitor analysis is good. Whereas before, it was useful to see, what your competitor has looked like. The new information is going to identify successful tactics, potential gaps in the marketing, optimizing your own advertising efforts to stay competitive in that digital landscape. So, that's a big change for Meta from a competitive view. Bit of a question mark, really, because then is everyone going to be copying each other? And the idea is no, you've got to stand out with your ads and messaging. If we go back to the three principles of paid social, which is objective, audience, message, that fundamental is never going to change across all platforms. But with Meta becoming a little bit more transparent on the competitor side of things, maybe the good thing might be smaller business can see what bigger businesses are doing to be a bit more impactful with their ads where they lack knowledge, experience. Because if you're a small business and you're doing it in-house, it could provide good value to you in terms of what big companies with agencies or big marketing in-house teams can potentially do to provide in terms of their tactics. So you can start mirroring those tactics or A/B testing them. And then finally on TikTok, which has become a really, really growing, is organically, I think what's interesting is now they've introduced custom thumbnails. So I think that's really good. So we're going to be playing with that, obviously, with the Mr. Bobble social page. But from an ad perspective, they've got some new tools called Symphony and Unified Lift. Unified Lift is basically an integration of all the data analytics but combined into one. The idea is to give you more data quicker and to bring it into more of an integrated approach, so you have more data touch points in front of you to make more executive decisions. The Symphony tool is more for, I think, creators side of things in terms of the creator dashboard, in terms of if you're an influencer, then you can get that, in place and use those insights for your creator elements. There's been some updates to the shop and advertising, but the key thing in terms of what's been really going on, and I talked about this as part of my trends, is social becoming search or social overtaking search. So there is a great feature within TikTok where you can target hashtags and keywords because people type that into the search bar. So it becomes very, very effective if you want to go after contextual-based targeting, really. That's what it is. And relying on first-party data more. So that is, I said a quick minute, but SEO, Google Ads, Meta, TikTok, and LinkedIn, which is the core channels that we do most of our work on, or probably that's 89% of our work. Yeah. That's literally a nutshell of what's been going on.
Okay, that's really interesting, and a lot of stuff to pick apart in that, actually. What about email then? Where are we in terms of email? Because I think this was sort of predicted to be an interesting year with kind of changes to how deliverability and stuff like that works.
We partner with a company called Force24. Shout out to Adam Oldfield. He did a talk in Leeds. He did an event called All Leeds. And it's quite interesting and in terms of his talk to see where basically the inbox is becoming more like SEO and more immersive and more like social. So email is going on a transformative view. Email is still email in terms of elements, but to get the best results from email, you need to have a great execution and plan. It's all about first-party data now and how you leverage that and how you can segment that data. That's what I was looking for, segmenting the data. So we're doing this on a project right now where they were doing some emails for some new product launches, service-based company. First of all, design wasn't great. Call to actions. I'll see if we can get it shown on YouTube, but it's like there's a great example of in bold, you're going to see this message first, and then this, and then you're going to read this, and then you might read this. It's a bit of an image that kind of explains how the human mind reads messages. It's the same thing with emails, especially with more anti-spam features coming into place. There's a lot more blockage to email. So it's how do you make email a bit more immersive and a bit more interactive as part of your everyday life, getting things to the top. So email's a difficult one. It's all about first-party data, as I go back to, and segmenting that first-party data. But you need to use the wider channels to drive email subscribers. So from an e-commerce perspective, if anyone's coming to your site, you want to be capturing their email database, whether they're buying or not, by incentivizing them with an offer. So that's the basket abandonment tactic that you can use. The more quality first-party data you have, the better you can learn and utilize that data in terms of getting insights from your customers, what they like, favorite products, specific offers, leveraging what's going to be now in the seasonal market in terms of specific offers when consumers, again, are going to be pressed hard this season around cost of living with obviously announcements of, increase in energy bills or stuff. So it's that first-party email data and design and data segmentation is where the trend analysis is, in my opinion.
Okay. What then? So we're 8-9 months into the year. What so far this year has kind of got you really excited?
Oh, AI. Oh, honestly, there's so much with AI that can be done to save time. I talk about this at the marketing showcase where I say AI isn't about replacing people. It's about improving process and systems. The idea is to move from data insights to execution quicker.
Yep.
That's what Bobble Insights was built on. I've already done a talk about that last year. We're actually in the AI build phase for that. So from a corporate perspective, from a Bobble digital perspective, the last 8 months what's been exciting is building out Bobble Insights to a tool that's now launched, available to our clients in the full first 3 phases, now working on the most exciting bit, which is AI. In the industry, I've been talking about supercharge your SEO with AI tools and the different AI tools you can use to, improve time processes and systems that allow you to do tasks if you're an in-house company, to like keyword research, to optimizing content, coming up with topic ideas. So AI is significant. At the start of this podcast, I talked about Google's AI and Gemini and the launch in SEO SERPs with the AI overview. So the most exciting thing is AI. Yes, it is scary and people need to get up to speed with it. And then you've got ChatGPT and that's integration into different platforms. I think that has been the most exciting thing to see in terms of how can you use AI within digital marketing to deliver better, more informed results. The idea is, employees really want to focus on the fun stuff of work. It's hard when you're bogged down with analysis and Excel sheets and data analysis and all this kind of analytics. Ideally, the team want to be coming up with ideas, campaign ideas, planning, implementing, seeing results, going back to clients saying, we're achieving all that. So, I think AI has been the most exciting thing in the last 8 months. That's got me like, we're just at the beginning, really, of where this could go.
There's plenty that's happened. It'll always be Google Bard to me, by the way. I'll never accept Gemini. But as we do this, we're a few days away from the next big Apple event, and AI is expected to form quite a big part of that in terms of how that integrates into iPhones. I think that moves things forward quite a big level, doesn't it? If people have got it at their fingertips.
I believe Apple want to invest into OpenAI. I think they're wanting to invest, a significant amount of billion into OpenAI. So I think OpenAI is going to be the main, it already is the main AI platform out there that everyone's building custom tools from. So it makes sense that even though Apple have Siri, they're like, no, we need to jump on the OpenAI bandwagon as well and interface that into their iOS system.
They have to do it because Siri feels quite outdated now. It feels a little bit like, can it not do that?
I would say Alexa's ahead of Siri. Yeah. I think Siri, I don't even use it on my iPhone.
No, it just can't do the stuff that you want it to do. So I think that next step, that next development is going to be really interesting. It kind of felt like this was always going to be the year of AI.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't the kind of, a prediction of AI being big this year was pretty obvious. Has it kind of developed the way that you expected it to develop? Is there anything about AI that's taken you back a little bit this year?
I think the lack of... It's like, if you're a scientist, where's the methodology? Where's the research that you want to read around it? Where's the case studies? It's the same with AI. Everyone's doing it, but I'm like, well, where's the proof that this is actually working? Mm. Now, the proof will be in the pudding in terms of the results and testing it, but I think everybody's jumping on the AI bandwagon, rightfully so, but not everybody's getting it right. So I think there's a lot of pretend AI out there, or everyone's trying to be an AI when they're not. So I'm yet to see, in most circumstances, I see products and I'm like, well, what's different? That's not really, to me, in my definition of AI, I don't see how that's AI. That's just great dev work and database work. Is it AI work? So I was having this conversation when I was at Climb 24, I attended an AI talk with DC Callahan, a great guy, works for Share Valley Ventures, and we were talking about Bobble Insights and the AI for that. And he made it very, very clear in his conversation, is like, AI needs to solve a problem. You don't just develop AI for the sake of, it's good to have AI on this. No, it needs to solve a real problem that people have. So Bobble Insights solves a lot of problems for clients, 3 in particular, the transparency of, is my agency doing the work I'm paying them to do, optimization levels of accounts, coming up with the next ideas, and performance, because agencies will only get fired by clients because they're not delivering, or the customer service is bad and lack of transparency. And the way you explain in terms of AI to me is like, you've got your generic AI that can analyze things, but everyone can use OpenAI and the source for that. The predictive AI is where it's quite interesting, is what they want to know, because on the predictive AI side of things is generic AI for Bobble, the Bobble AI system with Insights, for example, will analyze the data very quickly. The predictive AI will tell us what to do next before we even had time to analyze it. So there's 2 elements of AI there working parallel with each other. The data analysis version of AI, is that AI? That's just data analysis, really, because what's the value to you? The value is to me. So if I say we use AI, we're AI-focused agency. No, we're using AI just to do analysis a bit quicker, which is a good way and reason, as I said, AI should be used. But the predictive AI, which will start telling us where to start moving money, which headline, descriptions, keywords, negative keywords to do, and where to optimize biddings, and which headlines are creative, what audiences work, and all that level of insight, which takes hours and hours to digest, it will start telling us before this is what to do next. So that's game-changing. That is AI, using AI to its maximum potential. So what I'm saying is, what I've seen is a lot of people saying it's AI, and when I've gone into it, I'm like, what's the AI USP about this? That's the question I have.
Okay. As you said at the beginning, or a few minutes ago, we're right at the beginning of this journey, aren't we, in terms of AI? Even what do we mean when we say AI? How do we define it? I feel like that's still something that's up in the air, isn't it, as to what is, what isn't. So I think you're absolutely right there. What about kind of opening that out a little bit then to digital marketing as a whole? What's happened this year that you just didn't see coming? What's taken you by surprise?
The rollback on Google cookies. So it was announced, I think, over a year ago now that, I think I did a talk about it. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Taking it from Bruce Almighty. Another reference there. I think we should have Italian in the YouTube video. And it was how cookies are going to go. But the question was, what's going to replace cookies? And everybody was talking about first-party data, so which is why, as part of my original digital trends, I talked about first-party data. It's going to become more valuable. Contextual targeting is going to become a lot more important because we may not be able to use third-party cookies. Google's rolled that back now. No, we're not going to get rid of cookies. So that's gone. That's not going to happen. We're sticking with what we have, which is actually a good thing because we didn't know where we were going. So that was because they had announced it for so long, and the fact that they haven't implemented it goes to show that there's nothing out there. But that took me back because like someone told me and I was like, what, really? I was shocked that they said, no, we're not getting rid of cookies. But I think it's more of a headache to get rid of it than it is to replace it with something different. Don't know. I don't understand the technical elements of what that would have, but it doesn't just impact Google. This impacts Facebook. It impacts TikTok. It impacts LinkedIn. It impacts any digital marketing tool, platform, media buying platform out there, any DSP essentially on the market.
So I want to move it on to a little bit more of like a human level, so a client level now. So what's happened that's had an impact and affected certainly the clients that you're working with? And I think I'm asking that kind of thinking about a strategic viewpoint.
The biggest thing that's impacted clients is the economical environment around them. So strategically, clients have had to adapt. We've had to guide and coach clients in terms of how to adapt. So if you take into all the changes that are happening with, let's say, AI, for example, is how can clients implement that as part of their longer-term marketing strategy? The benefit of having an agency is we're doing it for them and they just see the results. But if they're not using or not thinking about AI, or they're not thinking about these radical changes that are coming into different platforms, they're going to get left behind. So strategically, one thing that we're trying to do with clients is like every 6 months is review the strategy and update it. The bigger concern right now economically is, I mean, when you see Warren Buffett sell so many shares and have so much liquid cash available to him, which he will reinvest because he has to, otherwise he's going to get taxed on it. That signs to a lot of people out there in that stock industry that there's a big crash coming. Not to scaremonger anyone, but there are signs, there are conversations out there, and you've got to listen to all aspects of what's going on, and sometimes the writing's on the wall. I hope there isn't one, but then it comes back to clients, and what can they do? Strategize. They've got to be agile with their strategy. They have to look at what's going on in the industry around them, in the economical environment around them. So if you think of like the traditional pestle model in terms of theory, that can implement, but within the digital world, it's right, how can we improve process and systems? How can we adapt to upcoming updates and change within platforms? How can we analyze data quicker? Because the quicker we analyze the data and results performance, the better they can strategically make decisions within marketing in terms of where to invest their time, money, and resources. That's what it comes down to, really.
Following on from that then, so what action are you actually recommending that they take at the moment? And I'm thinking here in terms of particularly social, both paid and organic, and from an SEO point of view.
You have to be agile right now. I think we've seen recovery in the last few months in terms of economical performance, but it's not guaranteed. Then you've got, from a B2C perspective, are we going to have a similar style seasonal period in 2023 that we're going to have in 2024 in terms of e-com? And I'm predicting it's going to be quite similar. I don't think it'll be as bad, but I think there's only going to be a small uptake in performance across the industry. From a B2B perspective, businesses will always have needs. It's just making sure you're defining your audiences more strategically and your messaging more strategically to get to the pain points of who your potential customers are. In terms of what they can do next is go back to the drawing board with your strategy. I think when we go in and talk to a lot of potential customers and existing clients, it's like, well, what are you doing next? A lot of people are just doing it month by month, by month, by month. And it's like, that's a condition of what's happened recently since post-COVID in terms of being reactive. But I think the longer-term strategy and having that down on paper and having that to be agile is going to help them in the long term. So that is where they need to focus their attention on, is strategy, because now it's September. You can go into supermarkets, you're already seeing Christmas stuff, Halloween stuff. The smart businesses plan ahead. The poor performance businesses react last minute. So you don't want to be waiting till last minute to make changes, because then it's already potentially too late. So by having a strategy in place and going back to that strategy on a continual basis to be able to compare what you're doing and what you aim to do, then you can start making subtle changes based on data and insight. So that's what businesses and clients need to be doing right now, focus their attention on, is the strategic output, where they are right now, where they want to be in 12 months to 24 months time.
I do think, by the way, September, fair cop for Christmas. It's here. We are in officially a Christmas countdown now.
The weather's changed as well. Yeah. I mean, the minute it hit the 1st of September, it's like the sun went bye-bye and hello winter, and I've already bought my hoodie out.
Darker, earlier, darker in the morning when you get up. Like the countdown is on. The countdown is on.
Seasonal depression, here we come.
I don't know if there's. I don't know whether or not you can really answer this, but is there one platform or one thing that you really think is working right now that you would say to people, look, if you're not on this, then you're really missing out? I know, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. You mentioned TikTok earlier, and you kind of sounded quite excited about what's going on there. So I don't know if it's that or something that you just think, do you know what, if you're not on this, you're really losing out at the moment.
That's a very difficult question, because not every company can do the same thing.
Yeah.
So if you're a small business, PMax, so Performance Max campaigns within Google Ads, because that is giving you access to all of Google's suites of products: YouTube, discovery, email, display, search, and in-app. So it gives you full access to the entire suite of products. You overlay that with audience targeting, but you need to have good quality videos and images. Now, there are local people out there that you can get freelance creative done from a freelance videographers. Case in point, Josh Wilson from Dimension Digital. You're welcome for the shout out there, mate. But the idea is being that, PMax gives you more access to different platforms, and Google, $48.5 billion in terms of revenue. There's a lot of money goes into it. A lot of people use YouTube, Google as a point, whether you're a customer or whether you're a business. So I think PMax campaigns where a lot of people need to be focusing attention on, especially the small businesses. I think if you've got more money to spend, then you need to be focusing on your SEO. I've seen SEO drop off in terms of appetite of people wanting to invest in SEO in difficult economic times. So if you're a bigger player in the market, winning in the SERPs is key. There's some stats which I actually had here, which actually I wanted to read out, is that actually 70% of all referral traffic is coming from search engines. And that was a study by SparkToro in January. So even though there's like 40% increase in spend in Google, search experience is actually getting a little worse, but I think with the AI Gemini implement, it might get better. Or the question is the search experience just evolving? People are saying it's becoming a bit worse, but is it evolving? It's getting to the top of the page without bidding and organically doing it. Is focus your attention on that. And seasonality-wise, you need to be on top of Halloween and Christmas and Black Friday keywords at top. But then from a B2B perspective, you really need to be leveraging LinkedIn a little bit more with the new tools and ads that are coming out. So it kind of, you see, the answer really depends on who you are as a business. There's not like a blanket rule for everybody go out and do this. Not really necessarily, because some companies are niches, some are direct to consumers, some are very high end. So some are FMCGs, so fast moving consumer goods. Some are very high end products which take a longer consideration time. They're not just going to go up to Google and spend $2,000 on a bed, if that makes sense, or a sofa. They want to physically go into store. So it varies by industry and sector and who the consumer audience is. But if you're a small business, PMax. Bigger business, invest in your SEO. If you're B2B, start leveraging more from LinkedIn and supporting it with those other two channels.
So just before we wrap this one up, if we look 8-9 months down the line, so we're kind of mid 2025, do you think we'll still be talking about the same sort of stuff, or can you foresee anything new that's on the horizon?
I think the main topic, and we'll be fully immersed into AI and how AI is being developed within tools from like TikTok, Google, LinkedIn, even Bing, Meta. I think in terms of how AI is going to allow businesses to create ads within the platform and the Creator Studio elements. And I think we'll be talking a lot about data analytics and the impact of data analytics within that to serve, you've got to feed the AI with insights and data. So I think those will be the two main topics. But I think it depends what the platforms do as well and how the platforms evolve. Also based on what you as users do. You dictate what the next product is. You guys consume more video content, which is why TikTok is one of the biggest platforms now, same with YouTube. And Snapchat is obviously is video focused, Facebook's video focused, Instagram's video focused, LinkedIn's video focused. So the type of content you consume kind of dictates what we're going to be talking about in the next 8-9 months. But as people continue to consume more video and new tech, which I call AI, that'll be the main, in my opinion, topic points. It's just hard not to see anything new. I don't see anything revolutionary happening in the next 8 to 9 months. That's going to be like, ooh, I didn't expect that. But it'd be interesting to pick that up in 8-9 months' time to see what happens.
Cool. Well, thank you, Batman.
Oh, welcome. They call me Bruce Wayne sometimes. My phone calls me Bruce Wayne sometimes. You can set Siri to it. That's a joke. That was true at one point, but it is a joke now. So thank you for joining me on the digital recap. Hopefully you found that very insightful. There'll be some links to some of the things I talked about in the YouTube video. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe if you're listening or watching on YouTube, and don't forget to follow me on my Mr. Bobble official social pages so you can get key snippets and behind the scenes of other things I'm doing where I'm talking at other events to give you, all-round access to me, insights, marketing, education. We'll catch you in the next episode where we will be having the whole team, or a good chunk of the Bobble Digital team, talking about seasonal advertising for 2024. Thank you very much.